Hello viewers, today we're going to work on this BMW F30. This is with the B58 engine. Today I'm going to show you what mods we're going to do to this car. I think it's going to be an interesting video because we're going to put pretty much almost all the mods that the people which has this platform wants. So probably it's going to be interesting, and hopefully in the end of the video we're going to show you what we have gained. But let me show you what we're going to install and at what point I am right now. So the car is pretty much disassembled. As you can see, I have removed the intake manifold. We don't have nothing on this side because we have removed the turbocharger, obviously. Of course, we're going to change the air filter housing because it's a known issue on these engines because they crack. Also, we're going to change, of course, this flange here because it cracks from time to time also. So here is the air filter housing. We're just going to exchange the oil core. We're going to put it on the new one. This is the old intake manifold. As we know on these engines, the intercore is water to air, which means it is inside the intake manifold, as you can see it. I'm going to show you after a second what we're going to install, but we know probably where we are going. See, we're going to change this hose also because usually it starts dripping from here when you remove it, so we want to play it safely because after that it's really hard to replace it because it's underneath the intake manifold. Okay guys, let me show you what we're going to install today. This is the Dorch engineering pump and this is the DS25 version, which means this is the stage 2 upgraded high pressure fuel pump. This is what it comes with. This is just a plug which is for direct fitment here, because if you don't put this you're going to need to cut down the wires, but this is much more easier. You're just going to plug it in place. This is for replacing the fuel line. This is the other fuel line which goes directly to the low fuel pressure line. This is the flange which we're going to install on the valve cover, actually on the cylinder head, but doesn't matter. This is the aiming sleeve which to aim directly where it's supposed to be, and this is just to hold the fuel line to stay in one place. Of course they have provided hardware for installing everything, so installation of the pump is kind of straightforward. I don't think we're going to have issues with it. We have decided to change the oil pump just for a safety precautions, not that the engine requires it, but we want to play it safely. That's why we're going to replace it. When we remove the old one, I'm going to open it up to see for some wear. I have bought the oil supply tubing plus a new gear, and somewhere around is the bolt, but I'm going to find it a little bit later. This is the new housing, oil filter housing. We are not going to go with the aluminum one. I know that there is replicas with aluminum housings, but they're Chinese. I don't want to risk it to put a Chinese aluminum housing, because if you install this new one, brand new one, OEM, probably it's going to last for at least 5 to 10 years, which is a lot, guys. So if it was my car, I was going to go to this path once again, installing a plastic OEM oil filter housing. That's why I recommended that to the owner. This is the flange which I was talking about, the coolant flange. We just going to need to transfer the sensor here, and this is the hose which I was talking about. I know to do everything as it's supposed to be is kind of expensive, but if you want reliability, this is the path to go. Once again, we're just going to need to transfer the engine oil core here. So here is the other really expensive part. This is the I don't know how to say it right, probably I'm going to say it wrong, but D088. This is the intake manifold, once again with integrated water to air intercore. So the difference, if I'm not remembering wrong, is that this intercore inside has 11 rows and the OEM intake manifold has 6. So by that you can imagine what is the difference. D088 is claiming that this intake manifold should drop the temperature for around 14 degrees, which means on identical conditions the original intake manifold was running at around 40 degrees and this was running 26, which is a massive difference. And actually they are also claiming the supply of the airflow to the engine should increase also. I don't remember how much percentage it was, but they say that it's a significant difference. So this is a must, of course, especially for a later state, because as we can see we have ports for port injection, which means when we go above 750-800 horsepower, for sure we're going to need to go to this path installing port injections. Actually we have also plugs for met injections, but for now we haven't decided to go this path because it's going to complicate things a lot. That's why we're going to install this kit AAM, I don't know, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it turns out when I purchased this, because somebody have opened up already the box, we are missing some parts, especially the pipe for the met, which is PTFE, I think it was, which should connect the reservoir to the injection here. Also we are missing also few more parts about this, but I'm going to talk to the supplier. Hopefully he's going to figure it out, because without it I cannot install the met injections. So this is the other thing which we're going to install, pretty obviously, so to be reliable. Actually the other plus when running this met injection is that we're going to be able to clean up the valves while it's running, because right now with the direct injection, as we know guys, the valve stems are getting dirt up, and this can cause some misfires and some other issues. That's why it's cool to have a met injection, because this is going to prevent this, because little by little the methanol is going to start cleaning these stems a little bit, and is going to prevent this issue. Yeah, of course, if we install port injection injectors, this is going to take care of it also, but in our case for now we are not going to use this. We're going to see what we're going to gain only with direct injection with this high pressure fuel pump. Of course we have both charge pipes. As again we decided to go with the same brand, the O88, on which we're going to install probably somewhere here the methanol injection. It comes with this silicone hose attachment which is attaching here. This is go to the turbocharger. It comes with some clamps, of course. Actually this is the hoses which are connected here on the water intercooler. Actually it comes with this flange which goes on the cylinder head. They're claiming that this is going to reduce a little bit the heat transferred to the intake manifold by installing this. So it's pretty interesting idea, because this is like a CMD on the computers. It feels like that. So for sure we're going to install it, hopefully for better results. And yeah, of course the turbocharger. So this is the original turbocharger which have been taken off from the car, and we have to install. The brand is MAMBA. I know it sounds strange, but the inducer is 50. Let me zoom in more. 58. Actually, let me go like that. You're going to see it. So in the inducer diameter 58 and the exducer is 76. But this is what we are using. For those of you that are wondering, this is the part number. If you want to use the same, actually this MAMBA brand is high quality, so I think it should be fine. I know some people are preferring some turbochargers which they bought with the housing and everything, but they are really expensive. So we're going to see how it works, but I know some people is running MAMBA brand and they have no issues, and they are putting pretty good numbers with them. So we're going to be the next one which are trying some tips. This is the coolant lines which is for the water cooling of the turbocharger. Pretty much always we're going to have issues removing them, and when you have these issues you're going to need to twist them a lot so to remove them, and which means this you're going to weaken up these points of the line, which means you can have some water leak after some time from here. We don't want to risk it. That's why we have decided to buy new hoses, these two hoses which are connecting to the cartridge of the turbocharger. The both the intake and the exhaust housing is regrinded, of course, so to be able to fit the new inducer and exducer. Billet impeller with reinforced sleeves for the shafts. So this is pretty much a heavy duty cartridge, so it should work without any issues. You're probably going to know how much money requires to make a 700 horsepower car and to make it reliable, not only to make it to go for 2 runs and to break down. It's really hard to make a reliable 700 horsepower car, so that's why it's expensive. Here it's much more easier because most of the things are almost plug and play, almost. We're going to see how the gearbox and the transfer box is going to act up after all of this. If they start to suffer, we're going to need to upgrade them, but for now we're going to run with the stock internals. Okay, I think I have drained up as much as possible this intake manifold from antifreeze, the original one. Yeah, I haven't removed this hose, but it's not going to be so heavy. So we are at 5.5 kilos. Let's see the O88 how heavy it is, but I'm going to need my 2 hands for it. I'm sure that it's going to be much more here. And I'm right. So 9.5, 4 kilos more. So almost twice the weight of this. Yeah, it's a big difference. But I guess it's worth it. Okay, so I have transferred the oil core, the engine oil core. Torque spec for these bolts is 10 Nm, as the bolts which are going to hold the oil filter housing again is going to be 10 Nm. The oil filter housing is installed as the new holes and the flange, the plastic flange. So yeah, everything is installed. Now I'm going to proceed with the changing of the high pressure fuel pump. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to undo it from here, here and here, and after that there is one more here which we're going to replace. These both lines we're going to replace them, they are provided. And when starting undoing the high pressure fuel pump, we're going to do it evenly, little by little on the both sides. There are two bolts, yeah, one connector obviously, so it's not rocket science. I'm going to remove it and going to compare the both fuel pumps and going to come back then. Everything is removed, the supply line, the line which goes to the fuel rail. We're going to replace the gasket. This is the lever. This usually is pressed by the camshaft. I'm usually removing this to check for any wear. This one looks pretty good. On some cars this is really prone to wear out and this can cause you a lot of issues with your fuel system, but on B58 this doesn't have issues, or at least I haven't seen it. There is only one way how to install it. There is a notch here, so it's pretty straightforward how you can install it. Before installing the new pump, you can make your life a little bit easier if you rotate the engine until the lobe of the camshaft it's not pointing like in our case right now. So as we can see right now the lobe is pointing upwards, and this is going to make our life a little bit harder to install the new high pressure fuel pump. You can install it like that, but it's going to be a little bit harder. So I usually rotate the engine from the crankshaft hub until the lobe is pointing downwards, or it's not pointing upwards like now. This is going to make the job a little bit easier, so just a small tip. So this is the old pump. Actually this pump, this high pressure fuel pump is TU, which is the one which is installed in the Supras, which is actually higher flow rated than the first generation one, but still this is much more superior than this one. This is the difference. Compare them side by side. Like that we cannot understand anything pretty much. So this is the bolts which we're going to use. Obviously enough, the shorter ones are going to be for the flange and the longer ones are going to be for the pump. The recommended torque spec from the Dorch engineering is 12 Nm on the 4 of the bolts, plus we need to apply some blue thread locker on them. When installing the flange, we're going to need to put this aligning tool in place before fully tightening up the bolts and then to install the pump, because if we don't do that, the flange can move a little bit, and when installing the pump we can damage something. That's why this guiding tool is so important. So I have rotated the engine roughly 90 degrees, so to get the camshaft as low as possible. So for easier installation I have put once again the guiding sleeve for the camshaft lobe. New gasket is installed, so let's install the flange. The important thing is just to slide out easy. We saw now the pump. Like that. This should be pointing the coils. As you can see guys, I'm doing it only by hand without any wrench or anything like that. So just quick comparison on the metal line with the OEM versus the aftermarket Dorch one. As you can see, this part is pretty much the same, but this part, as you can see, is straight compared with the OEM one, which is a little bit curved because of the difference of the angle of the fitting here. So this is the main reason pretty much. Yeah, actually here we have a little bit different angle, but it should, they have calculated that clearance for the coils, I think. So yeah, this is the main difference, and the biggest difference comes, of course, on this line. As you can see how it looks like, the whole line is flexible compared to the OEM one, which is metal to this point, after that is flexible to here. Yeah, we're going to have this fitting, which is, I left it, yeah, is this one. So we're going to need to attach it somewhere to the valve cover, if I don't remember wrong. So as you can see, this is the nut which is going to hold the line to the original metal line, and this slip is going to prevent the hose to get out of its place, because it's going to hit this wall here. So that's why we need to tighten it up. So now I'm going to tighten up this attachment. It doesn't require a lot of tightening up because it has just a lip to prevent the line to get out from the supply. So to get crazy, I just put some plastic tape around my wrenches so to not damage the paint. Okay. Once again, it doesn't require a lot. Pretty much everything is tightened up. The line, the metal line to the pump, this attachment here, yeah. I am putting the line underneath this poke of the coil poke here, and after that the provided bracket to hold the line in place with the original bolt which was here on the valve cover, and goes directly to the low pressure fuel line. So this is how it looks like with everything assembled. The pump, yeah, actually I forget, we need to attach the fork, of course. So let me do it. So it should be forked like that. With not slow click. After that the fork should be attached here, but with one hand is kind of hard. It's cool that they provide pretty much everything to install this. So this is the finish of the installation of the pump. Now we're going to continue with the intake manifolds, for which we're going to need to attach the original water hoses on the intercooler. Core sounds strange, but here it is on F30. This is the core of the intercooler. So I'm going to show you what is the idea. But yeah, we're going to once actually this hose is missing right now, which goes underneath here, but I'm going to install it. And let's see, are we going to meet some other obstacles to install this intake manifold? Hopefully not. So let's continue with the intake manifold. So this is all the bits, actually this is also from it, that we're going to need to figure out where they go. So let's figure out the puzzle. First we're going to start with this spacer for making the intake manifold a little bit cooler, which is separating it from the cylinder head, for which we're going to install first this. There should be two of these. Hopefully they're somewhere here. Yeah, here is the other one. So we have two of these which we're going to need to install to the cylinder head. I think this is for guiding this in place, because when you install the cylinder head without these guide studs, it is going to fall down all the time. So DO88 have provided some gaskets, so I'm going to start assembling them here and on the intake manifold, obviously. So we should have 12 O-rings for these ports. So let me install them plus these studs, and I'm going to come back. So I have installed all the gaskets on the manifold and on this spacer. Also I have installed the quick connects with the provided clamps. They are claiming that you should torque them to 5 Nm, but this is a little bit too much in my opinion. But doesn't matter, I know how it should feel when you tighten up a clamp. So yeah, this is installed. Actually this is going to clip in the original coolant hoses on the car. So now let me show you this, how it goes. So here are the both studs, which the 88 are stating that should be installed exactly there, between the cylinder number 3 and 4. So this should go, once again the gaskets are in place, so this should go like that. So the studs are aiming the spacer exactly in place, and they are stating that we should make them even on the surface, like in my case. This is only for aiming the spacer, I think, but I'm going to see it a little bit later. So the both connections are attached to the OEM hoses. This is the cool part of the quality kit, that you are not going to need to do anything about the hoses to cut them or something like that, adapt them somehow. And actually you can see how good clearance we're going to have to the oil filter after that, because I know some intake manifolds are going to make some issue after that servicing your car, but this one is going to give us, I think, enough room. Now we're going to install the manifold itself, and I'm going to show you, but the important thing is that the front OEM hose, this one, is going to be connected on the lower point of the manifold, and the back one, obviously enough, on the upper part of the manifold. So now I'm going to try to test fit the manifold in place for the first time. Let's give it a try. As you saw, guys, it's much more heavier than the original one. I think I'm going to be able to attach the both coolant hoses, but yeah, we're going to have plenty, I think plenty enough room, hopefully, because the intake manifold has some additional cutting underneath here for the oil filter. So hopefully it's going to work out. It's going to need to go a little bit upper, but this is how it's going to look like. So now I'm going to start attaching some things, but I don't see the point of filming this, because you are not going to be able to see anything. Yeah, in the manual they're stating that these studs which were here, I need to undo them right now, so to center up the manifold in place. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to come back. So the bolts which I'm using to tighten up the intake manifold are looking like that, with spring washer, I mean this. And the idea is, also I was thinking, the studs should be guiding the intake manifold. The idea is to tighten up 3 bolts, after that undo the 2 studs and tighten up all the rest of the bolts. The recommendation is first tighten up to 5 Nm all the bolts from the center to outside, and after that 10 Nm. It's the same torque spec as the original manifold, and yeah, after that we're going to tighten up the original 2 bolts which were on the original intake manifold, and of course after that these 2 coolant hoses which are connecting to the intercooler. Little by little I am assembling stuff. Right now I'm assembling small brackets. This is for the installation, this is for the evap. I have transferred the bushing, the original bushing for the evap. So there are different type of bolts, M5s. So we have longer ones, mediocre ones, and actually shorter than these ones also. The shortest ones are going here. The medium ones are going on this bracket for the wiring, and this for the evap. I'm still figuring out the rest, but this is what makes the difference between a high-end intake manifold and cheap one. They even provided this for attaching your beauty cover, so pretty good. All the brackets and stuff. On the cheaper ones you're going to need to figure out your brackets to hold the evap and stuff, but this is the difference. And for now the biggest struggle with this installation was this hose, actually this one underneath, because there is not a lot of room to tighten up the clamp there, but this one at least has a lot of space. This was the biggest struggle for now. Everything else is kind of accessible. So I have attached the wiring. There is one plastic spacer here which is installed, and the longest M5 bolt. Right now I'm figuring out the evap system, because as you can see this cannot go through to this point which were originally attached. That's why they have provided some aluminum joiner with few holes, one minus that is gates, because this is really unreliable, but we're going to check it. It's on kind of easy way to check it. So now I'm going to cut it as much as needed, so to attach it here, and actually yeah, it's attaching perfectly on this bracket here which they have done, so pretty good job with that. So now I'm going to install the bleeder hose, which should go here, maybe something like that actually, and after that we're going to attach it to this hose. Once again we're going to use the quick connect because they have provided, but actually I'm first going to assemble here the ECM and stuff, because that's going to be easier, because this hose is going to be on my way. But just wanted to show you that there is one more hose which they have provided with this, which we're going to install with the bracket. Actually one of them is a little bit small, so I'm going to need to use one of mine, but not big of a deal. So I'm going to install everything back, the ECM and stuff, and I'm going to come back. So I have installed all the installation here, and I have attached the hose. As you can see, as I told you, I have used my own clamp with the quick connect from the kit, and here yeah, I managed to use their clamp, so this is how it's attached. I'm not exactly sure if it was going underneath the installation or not, I need to check, but maybe it was like that. I'm going to recheck this. Now I'm going to need to heat up this, so to be able to pull out this connection of the evap system, because now as we can see it should be connected here, but it's a little bit long, so I need to cut it, I don't know, maybe somewhere here. And yeah, I'm going to need to heat it up again, so to be able to press in this, so to get exactly where it's supposed to be fitted right now, because as we can see it is far away from the place that it should get. After that I'm going to install the map sensor. Here I haven't installed it yet, so pretty much little by little I think we are almost ready. Okay, so the pump is out. Luckily on this engine also it's possible to remove the pump without removing the gearbox. You just, with some rotation and little bit of tedious job, you can remove them while it's installed in the car. Actually the engine looks pretty clean inside. Let me show you how clean is the open. Yeah, I have cleaned it with brake cleaner, but I haven't removed the debris with some chemicals or stuff. It is just clean engine, which is pretty good. So here is the pump, the original pump which we have removed from the car, as you can see with the gear. So this is the new pump. Once again we're going to replace this. I have bought new bolts, so I'm going to replace these ones. Here are the new bolts, 4 of them. This is the bolts which are holding here this suction pipe or housing, let's call it. Yeah, you can reuse the old ones, but it's really inexpensive, that's why I decided to buy it. And this is the new bolt which is holding the gear. In my opinion, this is a mandatory to be changed when we are changing the gear and installing the new pump actually. So now I'm going to install everything back together. I'm going to put some silicone here, so to close up once again the open. And pretty much we're going to be done with the old pump, and we're going to continue with the installation of this turbocharger finally. So I have decided to open up the pump, so to show you what is the usual issues. Let me turn on the lights. What is the usual issues with these pumps? As you can see, we have a plastic inside. I know you are going to say that usually the issues is on the newer B58s, but years are going by and it's possible to see it on early models, because this plastic is getting brittle and it can cracks, and you can imagine if this cracks, what can happen. It's going to look ugly for sure. That's why even on early models it's a good idea to change this. I know this can happen, so that's why we are replacing this pump with the new one. As we can see, these pumps are much more complex. This is eccentric and it can work on different varieties, but the biggest reason to change it is because this plastic can break down. So I have seen only one difference for now. I have opened up also, because this is a vacuum pump inside, I have just opened it up to see what is happening behind, but everything looks fine. The only difference that I found with the new one is that, as you can see, how the gear looks like compared with the new one. As we can see, we have 2 straight lines here, and on the new one, on the old one we have only one. As we can see on the shaft, only one, and on the new one we have 2 straight lines. so it goes like that. And this is the new bolt which I bought. It's a reverse thread. I'm going to put some thread locker on it, so just to be extra secure that it's not going to get loose. The torque spec for this bolt is 5 Nm plus 90 degrees. What else? The torque spec for this bolt is 19 Nm and the torque spec for this is 8 Nm. So I'm going to torque up this. I'm going to figure out how, because while it's in the car it's impossible because I haven't removed the gearbox, so probably going to hold it with something here. I forget to say something really important. Observe is this sleeves left on the cylinder block or not, because in our case this sleeve came out together with the old oil pump and we need to transfer it in this case here, because let me show you on the cylinder block. On the cylinder block, as we can see, the other one is left here. In the perfect case you're going to have the other one left here, but in our case it came up with the oil pump, so observe this. Because if they are not in place, you're going to have issues with assembling the pump in the right orientation, and that can lead to some failure with the chain or some noises. So always check for these sleeves. Are they located in their places? There are only 2 of them. On the other side you are not going to have. So the oil pump is installed. The 4 bolts, once again 19 Nm, which are holding the housing. 8 Nm for the suction pipe. And yeah, once again the front bolt. 5 Nm and 90 degrees. It's not so easy when the pump is out, but it's possible to do it. So now I'm going to proceed with the installation of the oil pan. These engines are not running any gaskets here. It's straight pan with silicone. In design it's better to be with silicone because it's going to make a little bit more stiffer bottom end rather with gaskets. I know the difference is almost none, but still, if you have a silicone underneath, you're going to make your bottom end a little bit stronger. Maybe that's why the newer engines from BMW are not using gaskets as before. Okay, so it's time to install turbocharger. So it's pretty interesting design. It's much more easier to remove it and install it than the N57 ones and other BMW engines like N54. Because of this, let's call it bracket or something like that, because when you install it on the cylinder head, as we can see, we have some marks here. The turbocharger slides in. As we can see, we have angle here. So the turbocharger slides in here. So this sits underneath, something like that. And while you're torquing down the nuts, it's going to slide in even more because the studs here are angled. It is going to push up the turbocharger exhaust even further down, and it's going to press it to the cylinder head. So you're going to need to remove only the nuts here, so to be able to remove it. But before we install the turbocharger, we need to install these 3 hoses. So once again, these 2 for the water cooling and this for the oil feed line, because now it's going to be much more easier than after that, because we are not going to have any accessibility to do this. So now I'm going to install this bracket in place using the new bolts and install all these 3 hoses. Just to show underneath the car, as you can see what I'm talking, the studs which are angled towards upwards. Here where the bracket sits, I have cleaned up the surface as good as possible on the cylinder head because it was really oxidated there. So one of the coolant hoses is connecting here, the other 3 ones are connecting here, and here is the old drain, but old drain can be installed later on after the installation of the turbocharger, because the hose is this one and it's plastic, so flexible, so you can install it later on. We're just going to replace the O-rings here, but be sure that we're not going to have any leaks. And yeah, this is for the nuts when you install the turbocharger in place. So the orientation of the coolant hoses is like that. It's one bolt holding the both coolant lines. As you can see, this one goes behind the hot side, and the attachment of the supply is down here. So yeah, this is how everything is attached. I don't want to move it a lot because I can bend the pipes, so you can clearly see how everything is attached and where it goes through. The only thing that's left once again is to install the drain of the oil, but I'm going to install it when the turbocharger is installed in place. So now I'm going to install it. I have installed a new gasket. Here is the new nuts which we're going to use. So the turbocharger is installed, all the hoses are connected, the oil supply is here, the coolant is connected here. I have connected this also. I just need to tighten up this bolt here. And the drain, I have changed the O-rings here. Yeah, the support, of course, this bolt break down, so we cut it just the welded nut here and put a regular bolted nut. It's not going anywhere for sure. And now I'm going to install the, yeah, of course this car has a downpipe, doesn't have any catalytic converter or something like that, so I'm going to install the downpipe. Torque spec, this is the new nuts which I have installed. So the torque spec on the bolts for the bracket and the nuts for the exhaust manifold is first time 10 Nm all around and 16 Nm on the top nuts. So you're going to need to start from the middle to outside. So 16 Nm, the final stage of torque on the bolts and the nuts if you decide to remove this bracket to clean up a little bit better the cylinder head where the gasket sits. I think I haven't shown the old parts from the turbocharger. This is what is all old parts. This is once again the brand MAMBA. This is what we have bought. And actually big thumbs up to the guys which have done the hybrid on this turbocharger. Once again, this is the biggest one you can install on this housing of the turbocharger. The guys which did the hybrid is Turbo Clinic. I'm going to post in the description below the link of their service, turbo service. Yeah, this is the exhaust impeller. The biggest difference is the axial thrust bearing, which is this. And if you go along and check on their website how it looks like, the new one is much more reinforced and much better looped up than the original one. So this is really high quality stuff, guys, and actually this is the biggest one you can install on this housing. So yeah, let's continue. The next step is to install the charge pipe. I have connected the silicone holes with the both aluminum pipes. I have transferred the both sensors from the old one. Yeah, I have took this metal clip from the original hose. The kit came with new O-ring here. Okay, so pretty much everything assembled on the top. So this is how this comb came up after heating it up. Yeah, a little bit of scar here because of the heating, but yeah, I think it's going to hold. Actually, I put one of the provided shims underneath because as we can see, the sensor is a little bit higher here. So if I tighten up the bolt, it bends a little bit. It's like that is a little bit more straighter. I think it's not going to be an issue. So yeah, this is installed, everything is touched. Yeah, I needed to place these brackets on different spots, so I removed them and used a new zip ties so to be able to hold it to the valve cover, because previously they were on totally different places, so I needed to redo this. So now they are nice and steady. So the thing I forget that when installing the fan, you need to once again remove this pipe and push this pipe backwards so to be able to fit the fan. It's kind of tedious job for sure, but I managed to do it. I torqued all the bolts around the throttle body to 10 Nm. Yeah, everything is fitted, even the air filter. So the last thing that it left is to install the front axle, which I cleaned up as good as possible. So yeah, but this is just bolts and nuts. I'm not going to bore you with that. So I'm going to install it, and when I'm ready, I'm going to start installing the met injection. We're going to figure out from where to go through everything, but I want to be sure that everything else is done, so to continue with the met injection. Okay, so pretty much everything is assembled. I have disconnected the injectors because, as you saw, guys, we have installed a new oil pump and I want to gain some oil pressure before we start up the car. And actually, because of the new turbocharger, it's also a good idea to rotate the engine a little bit without starting it up, so to gain some oil inside the cartridge. And that's why we're going to rotate it for 10-20 seconds. After that, I'm going to reconnect the injectors and we're going to start it up. So right now we're going to set up in the software that we are running Dorch 2 high pressure fuel pump, and then we're going to start it up. But still, even if you set it up, it's not a good idea to push the car to the limit, because you're going to need a custom rem up on this car, especially because of the new turbocharger. Yeah, the intake, probably for the intake, it's not going to be crucial if you don't have custom software, but because of the new turbocharger and the Dorch pump, it's going to be a good idea to make some custom rem up. So we're going to upload the flash and we're going to start it up. I have reconnected the injectors. Now we're going to attempt to start it and hopefully everything will be fine. Като си готов е, Паля? Turbocharger because it's painted and it's going to take some time until all the chemicals gets away. Check that one. Yeah, I'm going to need to top it up, but this is normal bleeding procedure. So now I'm going to start figuring out the met injection because I need to remove it from the lift, so to start disassembling the interior to do it, that's why I needed to start it. Okay, so we are fabricating some plate for holding the reservoir of the met. We're still figuring it out how it's going to look like. We're still weighing it up. So I'm going to show you where it's going to be held. It's going to be held with one bolt here and with one bushing is going to lay on the decoration, something like that. So I think it's good enough for 4 liters of liquid. It's not going anywhere. So let me show you where it's going to sit. Okay, so the reservoir is going to be like that. Now it's hard to show. When I attach it, I'm going to show you. But the idea is this. It's going to be held on this thread here. So it's going to sit something like that in front of the decoration, of course. I'm trying to sort up the wiring and this is what I have came with. So maybe I didn't show you how much wires we had and how long they were, but the owner decided that he wants to put the control module, which is this, in the trunk because he don't want some kid or someone else to push it accidentally like that. So that's why he wants to put it in the trunk. So we're going to install it probably somewhere here where the pump is going to be installed underneath here. We have this positive wire, this negative wire on which I have put these shoes. I'm going to show you later on where I'm going to connect them. This is 12 volt supply after ignition. I'm going to probably solder it underneath the fuse box. Actually the module itself, it has a fuse here, 15 amp. So if something happens, this fuse is going to blow up. Probably this is for the pump because this is going to draw the highest current. This is for the level sensors, which is going to be in the tank. Yeah, I have decided to put a plugs for the pump so to be able to be disconnected. I have soldered the wires to the plug on both sides. And the 2 wires here are going to go for the diode, which is going to go somewhere in front of the driver, so to see what is happening. So we had 2 additional wires for one solenoid and I forget which was the other one, but we're not going to use them, so I left it here in this loom. So this is all the wires we're going to use. It's pretty simple, plus minus 12 volt after ignition, level sensor, pump, and this is for the diode. So to be able the owner to see what is happening, usually you're going to have a diode here to see it, but once again, because this is not going to be visible, it's going to be in the trunk, that's why we're going to use the diode and we're going to leave that. Because we cannot find a convenient place to place this, so to be able the owner to see it while driving and still to look good. That's why we're going to use only the diode. So I have installed the pump. Let me show you underneath this plate, which is going to straighten up this cardboard, because I think if I don't put this reinforcement underneath, probably it's going to tear apart the cardboard after. Probably it's not going to be so fast, but right like that it feels much more secure, and for sure it's not going anywhere. It's pretty stiff in place. This is how I just put some zip ties behind. Yeah, this is how I set up the plug for the pump. So here it's held behind with zip tie again. So if it's required to be able to remove this wiring loom altogether, I'm just going to disconnect here, and we can remove everything. As we can see, it's going to go through here and to this spot. So now I'm going to install everything inside the car. Pretty much everything is set up where it's supposed to be. The idea is just to look a little bit cleaner, and still the owner is going to be able to use this part of the compartment, because only this part is going to be for the met system. I have start installing the wirings. So this is where I'm connecting the positive wire here to this main point which goes to the battery. Here is where I can, oops, too bright. Here is where I connect the negative terminal, once again here. So everything goes underneath these panels, so you cannot see it. For the ignition power, I'm just using, it's this yellow wire which goes underneath, and it's connected to this green and blue wire, something like that. Green and blue, yeah, it's green and blue. So I just connected in series. Fuse number 15. So once again I have checked, it has power only on ignition, and when you turn off the ignition it turns off the power here, so it should work out for us. So as you can see, this is the wires for the diode, and this is which goes to go to the level sensor, which is going to be somewhere here. It's time consuming for sure. I can do it much more faster if I don't want to make it a little bit more cleaner, but when you want to look a little bit better, it takes time. Okay, so the vacuum line, it goes through here and goes along the covers, of course. So it goes through here. It's going to be far away from the seats, so hopefully it's not going to be pressed or something like that, and goes along underneath here. It goes along here, as you can see, as the wire for the diode, which we have placed here. So I just put it in the angle. I think it's going to be good for the driver, because it's going to be straight on his eyes. So he's going to see it, and this is where I have placed the vacuum line, as you can see where it goes through, and just cut it a hole so to get the vacuum hose out from the interior. And it goes through down here. It's kind of accessible, and now I'm going to connect it. I have removed one of the plugs, one of these 3 plugs I have removed, and we have made our own fitting here, so to connect the vacuum line to the intake manifold, the new one. So now I'm going to connect it, and pretty much the only thing that is going to left is to install the methanol hose, which is going to be attached here with the nozzle, but still we are waiting for it, we don't have it. So this is going to be the last piece that we're going to need to wait and install. So the hose finally came for the met. Now I'm routing it through here. It enters in the original hole, which is a rubber one, and I have made a hole in it. So yeah, now you cannot see it very well, but it's down there. Let me show you where it goes through. Inside the car. Okay. So this is the vacuum line, and up here is where the met hose is going through. So I think it's the perfect entering from here, and now I'm going to go along from where I have installed the vacuum line underneath here until I go from behind once again. I have actually already connected the reservoir to the pump, as we can see. But yeah, the idea is to go through the same way which I have connected the vacuum hose. So the met injection is going to be installed here. I'm going to connect the hose after that, but before that I want to do a flush of the system with distilled water. I am just filling it right now from here, and it's pretty much almost full. I'm going to fill up probably 1 more liter. AM is recommended, and it's not only them, it's pretty obvious that it's a good idea to clean up the system with at least 1 reservoir of water, and after that we're going to put the met plus distilled water 1:1 ratio. Okay, so let's give it a try. Let's put the key in the car. So ignition on. We should have supply to the module. So I believe I just need to hit the test button and check if the pump is running. Let's go forward. Why it's not coming? Okay, I think I understood what happens. Let me show you. Да, там оставя, да. Okay, so ignition on again. And I was thinking that I need to press it only one time, but I guess I need to hold it, so let me show you the difference in the pump, how loud it gets. So yeah, now my colleague is going to hold it and I'm going to show you how it's pressed from the front. Задръжи това копче тест. Ама го задръж. Ма свали се ръка и също го изцапаш. Той ще е беличко.
Няма да те traи жена, да знаеш.
Чай няма да задръж го тъй, да. Here it is. Коса? So it has decent amount of power. То явно да не е да пръска постоянно. So for some reason it's not continuous. I guess this is some strategy of IEM, but still it has a lot of flow. So we won't continue until we end up all the fluid inside the reservoir, and after that I'm going to connect it to the nozzle here. Let me check from behind, do we have any leaks? Okay, so for now we don't have any leaks, as we can see here, and here I know it's kind of dark, but this is how it is. So it's leak free. So I'm going to assemble all the interior now, plus the engine bay, and pretty much the car is going to be ready for tune up, but let's finish it to see how it looks. Okay, so pretty much the car is assembled, all the interior is assembled. Now we're going to fill the reservoir with 50-50 mix, distillate water, and this is the methanol. With the methanol, it's from Bulgaria and you're not going to probably see, but actually here is the formula if you want to do it by yourself. But yeah, probably not.
Not advised.
So we are filling it like that because there is not a lot of accessibility. So it's a little bit slow process, but it's not going to be done frequently, I guess. We're going to see. Depends how the owner is going to drive the car. But pretty much we're going to use 4 bottles of половин литър.
Half a liter.
Of half a liter bottles and 4 bottles of half a liter метанол, как го кажеш точно?
Метанол.
Метанол. Не знам къде да служа, как ска.
Няма значение, мет.
Малко като наркотическа.
Да, то си е наркотик.
Nice. Okay, it have been probably, I think 1 year after the thing that I have done to the F30 with all the upgrades, and I decided to do some updates because I didn't end up the video properly. I don't have a Dino sheet or something like that to show what is the results after all the upgrades that we have done to the car, but I can give some feedback or something like that. So the car is here just for regular maintenance. I have changed the discs and the pads. Also I have changed the oil separation diaphragm, I think it's called like that. Let me open up the hood. The car have go through around 10,000 kilometers. This is the second oil change we are doing actually. And yeah, from the recommendation from the mapper, which have done the tune on the car, he suggested that we need to change the methanol injector. Also he have put some non-return valve on snow performance as the injection. He's claiming that injection is failing and sometimes they stuck open and this is filling up the system with methanol. So it's okay, I guess it's possible. I haven't seen this. I haven't installed so many methanols, only few of them. None of them have failed, but I guess it's possible if he's doing it all the time. But yeah, we have installed a new met injection. Once again, let me remove this. We have changed this diaphragm for the oil separation system once again. The biggest issue that we had actually on the dyno, the hose which was connected to the injector pop out from here. So it made a little bit spill of methanol around this place here. It sprayed. I'm not sure why it popped up, but they just connected it once again, and from there on it didn't have any issues. Now I done it again. This is different style of connection here. It's tightened with a nut, so hopefully it's going to hold up. I'm going to test the car and see are we going to have some leaks. But from the back, if you remember guys, this is the back and this is the met injection. We don't have any leaks from here from day one till now. Still the reservoir is holding good in place. There is no issue with it. Now it's almost full. So let me start up the car actually. Okay. It's kind of loud, as all of these cars. It's with M performance exhaust, only with downpipe. I think I showed it. But yeah, it's running good. For now we haven't had some issues with injectors, coils or pokes, something like that. Everything seems fine. So about the numbers that this car gets on the dyno, I think the engine came up with something around 560, 580 horsepower. We were aiming for 650, 600, something like that, but it didn't manage to do it. The main issue, it turns out, is that the turbocharger, not the turbocharger itself, the turbocharger was sufficient, but the exhaust manifold runners are too small, the original ones, to make more than 600 horsepower. So if you decide to do a hybrid on the original turbocharger, it's not going to be, I guess, the best idea, because the exhaust manifold runners are going to be too small to make what you want to do. So yeah, if you want to go above 580 horsepower, we're going to need a different exhaust manifold with bigger runners, so to let the engine to breathe out easily. Because right now this is the biggest restriction that we have on the system. Because as we saw, the intake manifold is good enough, the charge pipe and everything else, but other than this, everything else seems to work fine. Once again, the owner gained maybe only around between 100 and 150 horsepower, which I know is not a lot from the investment that he have done in this car. But as I told him in the beginning, the things that we are doing is for not only for power gains, but also for reliability. If it was me, I was going to do it the same way. This was my recommendation to him how to do it. The car for now is running sufficient. He's pushing it pretty much all the time. It's not driving like a normal daily car. So for now, it's doing what is supposed to be done. Some people are going to say that some things are not needed or something like that for these power gains, but with these things that we have installed, we can go above easily, only by installing a different turbocharger. I know this is one of the most expensive things that you need to do on this engine, but this is how it goes. Okay guys, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. And for the people that are wondering why I am uploading videos so rarely these days, the biggest reason is, let me show you. We have decided to finally do some upgrade, renovation on the service because it was terrible. So we have put a new ceiling finally, a normal wall. We have do the walls. We have put new windows, new doors and so on. And this guys took a lot of time, believe me or not, but it took a lot of time. So we are also going to change the lifts actually. We're going to put different lifts, which are going to take also some time. It's a terrible process, but I need to finish it once and for all because it was really terrible. So yeah, this is the biggest reason why I'm not uploading so often.